lecture this morning. Great lecture. Long. Very long. All right. What we try to do now, we try to actually have the rubber meet the road. Okay. I'm gonna give you a couple demonstrations to show you what you're looking for. Now, has everybody here had a CPR class at some point in time in their life? Nobody's a newbie, right? Which is fine if you are, but everybody's okay. Great. That'll make this a little bit easier then. 3 things we're worried about when we actually talk about giving compressions to a human being. What are they? Depth. How deep do we press? The book answer is 2 to 2.4 inches. Now, unless you are a machinist or a surveyor or somebody in that type of field, you don't work in tenths of inches. Nobody works in the real world in tenths of inches. Now, I said that one time I was actually teaching a group of surveyors, and the guy is like, I told him, I was like, nobody has a tape measure that's in tenths of inches. And he says, I got one. And everybody raised their hand. It's like, okay, fair enough. So what I tell folks is 2 to 2.5. Okay, 2.4 is close to 2.5, 0.5 is a half, just go with 2 to 2.5 inches, okay? Now when we deal with children, it's 1/3 the depth of the chest, anterior, posterior, 1/3 AP. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Second thing we're worried about. Rate, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Third thing. Recoil, and more specifically, do I put my hands down here? Do I put my hands up here? Yeah, where you actually are going to put your hands, right? Now, I used to have this great speech, and it took me a long time. I've been doing this since '91, okay? Like I said, longer than probably some of you have been alive. Been through all kinds of updates and changes. I think we're finally on the right track. But the speech that I had went like this. In order to find your hand position, take your non-dominant hand, put it on the bottom of the rib cage, walk your fingers up the rib cage, put your index finger on the small notch at the bottom of the breastbone. That's a xiphoid process. Take 2 fingers, place it above that, take your dominant hand, put it right over that, interlocking your fingers, locking your elbows over the top of your hands, your shoulders over the top of your elbows, using a rocking motion from your hips. Proceed to compress. And then they said that was way too complicated. Nobody could actually ever learn that speech. So I said, all right, guys. Mr. and Mrs. Orangutan, where do you want me to put my hands? And I was like, it's very simple. Just put them on the nipple line. And I was like, okay, well, what if she's a big girl? It could be down here. All right. So what I've come up with is, yes, that works most of the time. Okay. However, if you expose your patient and you're looking at them, you're like, bottom of the sternum, suprasternal notch right here. Put a finger right in the middle and put your hand right next to the finger. It'll be on the bottom half of the sternum every single time. And you can just go for it, okay? Now, back to our rate. How fast do we want to push? And this can vary. I mean, some of you have it set up in your departments like we do. We have a metronome that pings us on all of our defibrillators. I don't think really everybody uses it because I watch guys and they're not using it, obviously. But how fast should we be compressing?
To the tune of staying alive.
Boom, 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 boom. 100 to 108 beats a minute, okay? Now that may change at the next update. They are meeting right now. They're passing bananas around the table, okay? Obviously, see, here's why I have an issue with them, and it's a personal thing, but it's like the science is out there. All right, we all know this. We go to conferences, we see these things, and it seems like they just lag on the science. The best thing that they did was we went from 15 to 2 on compressions ventilations to 30 to 2 compressions ventilations. And boy, did our rates shoot up. You know, we used to pat each other on the back when our survivability rates went up 0.1%. All of a sudden, we were in double digits, you know, increases, and that had never, ever been seen before. So that's why I said I think we're on the right track. You can do 100 beats a minute pretty close. I mean, I've got a clock up here. If I just do one every second, where am I at? 60. So if I double it, that's 120. So just dial it back a little bit. So if you're counting to yourself and you're like 1001, 1002, just bring it back a little bit. Matt might have talked about this. Arteries, nice, solid, firm, spongy organs, you know, or vessels. You know, they're you know, because they got to handle that blood going to the body and the force behind it. Veins are kind of like, I'm a vein, and they collapse. Okay, if we go too fast, we will cavitate the pump. All right, we've got to give time for the blood to actually flow back through the veins and actually make it back to the heart. So you can go too fast. And I see this all the time in our guys because they get excited and they're like, and it's like, dude, you got to back it off a little bit, just a little, but just slow it down. I like music, and I heard several people go with songs, and so let me see if I can do this. This is my song. This is my jam. Oh, you wait. Okay. So here's the thing. You can use that song. Let's see if I can find another one here real quick. Yeah, I've done that. We'll go over this. Now, the problem with that is if you sing those lyrics out loud and you're in somebody's home and their loved ones might be watching you and you're like, and another one's gone, and another one's gone, another one bites the dust. Hey! You might have to have a discussion with your captain later about the appropriateness of your musical selection. Both of those songs I love, all right? Bigger fan of Staying Alive. I was a kid during the 70s, that was my jam. We had a very, very nice young nurse who was here probably a couple, 3 years ago, and she very kind of timidly raised her hand while I was doing this, and she said, Blaine, what happens if you don't really know either of those songs? And I was taken aback. I was like, how do you not know the songs? Everybody knows the songs. I mean, how can you not? And she was like 18, 19, 20 years old. So I got to thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, Staying Alive came out in 1976. All right, it's 40 plus years old. Another One Bites the Dust was 78, 40 plus years old. And then I thought to myself, there's got to be more current music out there that people can use. Matter of fact, I'm a music guy. I should put something together so that people could see that there are songs from the 50s all the way up through today that you can do CPR to. So, to that end,
ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present the following program. It is not endorsed by the American Heart
not endorsed.
or the NRANT. However, it runs for the best non-available currently in CPR. Selection will appear as a standard
Rock man.
today. This program will serve as an act to perform CPR impressions the correct way. I present to you the evolution of CPR.
This is a little trivia for you. This particular song, written by Michael, he got the lyrics for this and the idea from a CPR course. The chorus, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? That's from a CPR class. Right there. There we go.
Well, you can do anything but take me over my blue suede shoes.
You got to come up full recoil. All right. Some of you guys won't know these songs. I get it. Some of you knew them all too well. do the footwork too if you want.
Oh yeah.
Little trash man. Those of you Family Guy fans?
I guess you say what can make me feel this way. I guess talking about I guess very superstition. Was just red I love.
Probably the favorite 70s song.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get it started. Yeah. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Yeah. Shady, yes, I'm the real shady. All you other slim shadies are just imitating. So I'm the real slim shady. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. I'm getting drunk on the plane. It's a party at the 737. Don't call my name, don't call my name.
Gaga?
I want you, babe, I want you, babe. Don't only kiss, don't only touch, just smoke my cigarette. So baby, pull me closer in the backseat of your Rover, and I know you can't find.
Chain smokers, I told you. Let's take it home. All right, buddy. Come back to us. Don't go near the light.